Richard Trelinsky in the 71 car will get the pole for race 9 of the 2013 HARC Pro Series season, with the 54 car of Gary Tang on his outside. Coming through turn 1, Gary Tang would get pushed high in a 3-wide battle with Ilya Bondarenko and Spencer Fullerton, and Richard Trelinsky would take first place. This track in New Mexico is famous for its extremely wide 4.92 mile format, and that was apparent as coming off turn 2 we had 5 and 6 wide racing. However, 5 and 6 wide racing typically leads to crashes, and that's exactly what happened coming into turn 3. On just the very first lap, with Nicholas DeFort and Penn Isman flipping wildly. Penn Isman continuing to flip. And now he's just got hit by Leo Walker and sent flying into the grass. Unbelievable. What were the drivers thinking going 5 and 6 wide on the very first lap? Let's go on board with Penn Isman during this crash. Leo Walker slides up the track into Nathan Gibson, and Pichu London squeezes Penn Isman into the wall. Penn Isman actually went over top of Pichu London's car before getting slammed by Leo Walker and coming to a stop in the infield grass. Although many passes took place for second on back, Richard Trelinsky would remain as the leader as the caution flag flew. Under this yellow, almost the entire field came in down pit road for their first pit stops of the race. Only 5 cars stayed out, and those cars were Mark Nutt, Andreas Allen, James Davis, Stephen Henhock, and Brock McMahon. Which means that Mark Nutt would inherit the lead. As I just said, Mark Nutt would lead the field back to the green flag. Gary Tang is currently the only car 1 lap down, as we can see many drivers making early moves to try to get position before we even entered turn 1, in fact. And Gary Tang, although he's a lap down, seems to have a very quick car. Down the backstretch on the very first lap under caution, we can again see the nutty 5 wide racing. And we have our first major lead change of the race here, as Andreas Allen is currently going by Mark Nutt. It doesn't get any more beautiful than that, as we have 5 wide racing throughout the entire field, as Damir Bezhanov has gotten to the inside of Mark Nutt, along with, well, several others who are also battling for the lead. Robert Moss, Spencer Fullerton, Mitch McDonald, and several others are up there. Despite the raging pack behind him, Damir Bezhanov and Mitch McDonald would team up, and Damir Bezhanov would stay in first place. At least until Peter Saviano in the 33 car could get to the inside of him and take the lead with some help from the 01 car of Zach Hofschneider. Coming down into turn 2, Zach Hofschneider has felt that he had enough of running second and dove to the inside and would take the lead from Peter Saviano. Zach Hofschneider and Peter Saviano would continue racing side by side, allowing the pack to catch back up and Zachary Brown to have a go at the lead on the inside. Zachary Brown would end up taking the lead, as we have another crash. Ron Young in the 64 car would end up squeezed down into his own son, Jacob Young, in the 22 car, and a melee would ensue with many cars spinning out of control. Many drivers who were either far back in the field or were involved in the previous caution came down to pit road under this caution to get tires or to repair damage. Zachary Brown in the 23 car would lead the field back to the green flag with just 8 laps to go at this gigantic superspeedway. Zachary Brown would get too far in front of the field on the restart, and coming down the backstretch, he would get passed by 2 cars at once, one on the outside and one on the inside, as Zach Hofschneider would go to the point. Out of turn 3, Ben Dover and Peter Saviano would decide that they had enough of running second and third, and they would get to the inside, both get to the inside of Zach Hofschneider, and Peter Saviano would take first, and Ben Dover would get into second. Half of a lap later, Ben Dover would get around on Peter Saviano and would take the lead for himself, as we still have 3 and 4 wide racing back in the field. Damir Bezhianov, who had made his way up through the field through the middle lane the last few laps, got a big run on Ben Dover and would take the lead with some help from the 23 car of Zachary Brown and the 7 car of Kyle Pillanini. Just a few miles later, though, Kyle Pillanini and the 7 car would hook up with drafting partner Robert Moss in the 100, and they would go to the front. After battling with Kyle Pillanini for about a lap on the outside, Damir Bezhianov would actually be able to retake the lead in that 13 car. This is nearly impossible to do on the Superspeedway, as Damir Bezhianov must have a really strong car. Speaking of strong cars, Ben Dover, pretty much on his own, was able to get a big run on Damir Bezhianov and take the lead. Ben Dover and Damir Bezhianov would hook up and would basically drive away from the field until Damir Bezhianov decided he wanted the lead again, and he would get to the inside and retake it. With just 2 laps to go, Damir Bezhianov, Zachary Brown, and the other lead lap cars would catch up to the extremely slow car of Leah Walker, who would hold up James Bond, Richard Jelinski, Peter Saviano, Robert Moss, Shrimp Engritz, and Nathan Gibson, and really just destroy their hopes of winning today's race. Coming to the white flag, Ben Dover would jump to the outside and get a huge run down the front stretch. This is possibly the first car on the outside that we've seen been able to make passes all day. And it looks like the 2 strongest cars of the day are first and second right now, as Ben Dover has taken over the lead. Coming through turn 2, Damir Bezhianov is trying to make the outside work, but no one's going with him. Spencer Fullerton's trying to get to the inside himself and try to get into second place. Damir Bezhianov has a history of running very well at superspeedways. In his first ever, in the first ever HARC race ever run in Daytona back in June of 2012. Damir Bezhianov finished second in a photo finish. He won the Summer Series Championship, but he's never won a race. One of only 3 veterans not to have won a race yet. Now Damir Bezhianov, coming through the final turn, has gotten to the inside of Ben Dover, and Spencer Fullerton has come with him. Now can Spencer Fullerton get a chance to coming down the front stretch? Damir Bezhianov has had a terrible season, but this should make things a lot better, as Damir Bezhianov will come across the line and win his first ever HARC Series race. Coming in second is another veteran who's never won a race, Spencer Fullerton. Another heartbreak race for him as he gets yet another second place finish. Zach Hofschneider came across third. The 33 car Peter Saviano came across fourth, and Ben Dover with his extremely strong 27 car came across fifth.